श्रीराम प्रमुखान् वन्दे श्रीमद् रामानुजमुनिम् नौमि लक्ष्मण योगीन्द्र पादसेवैकतारकम् श्रीरामं कृतनाथार्यं श्रीभाष्यामृतसागरम् श्रीभाष्याकार शिष्याय श्रीमदात्रेय गोत्रिणे श्रीराम यज्वगुरुवे मङ्गलं तुङ्गवर्चसे श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदाहृदि गुरुभ्यः तद्गुरुभ्यश्च नमो वाकमदीमहे वृणीमहे च तत्राद्यौ दम्पती जगदाम्पती स्वशेषभूतेन मया स्वीयैः सर्वप्रसिद्धैः विधातुं प्रीतमात्मानं श्रीमान् प्रकृते स्वयं शुक्लां वरदरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये यस्य द्विरदभक्त्राद्याः पारिषद्याः परशतं विघ्नं निघ्नन्ति सततं विश्वक्सेनं तमाश्रये ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे. Welcome to the day 3 of Vishishtadvaita session. I will share the yesterday's screen. One second. Day 2. Asti. Yeah. Share. We were here. Yeah. I know in the end I moved a bit quickly, and because of that many things were not properly understood. But before I go to this one, I wanted to address yesterday's one of the questions. And yesterday's question was how Vishishtadvaita sees the Varna. I just wanted to give this example. Do you know what is this? This is called Shatari. Am I visible? This is called Shatari. And this is placed on everybody's feet. I mean, everybody's head. When we go to the temple, in Vishnu temple, they keep it on our head. It's like a crown, right? But this is basically having two Vishnu padas on top of it. And what does this signify? Actually, Shatari is the name of this person. He is none other than Nammalvar. He has many names. One of them is Shatari. Ari means the enemy of Shata. Shata basically signifies Maya. So Shatari, the one who has won over Maya, or Shata, Shatachit, the one who was victorious over Shata, or generally people know him as Nammalvar. So you can see Krishna just behind him. I deliberately took this pic because Nammalvar has one more term associated with him. It is called Krishna Trishna Tattvam. If somebody asks, can you write a feeling of devotion towards Krishna, Krishna Bhakti, can you write a picture of Krishna Bhakti? Then the Shastras say this is the person. If you write Krishna Trishna Tattva, if you want to write that, just show Nammalvar's picture. That is Krishna Bhakti. So that is the reason I took this particular pic. And this Nammalvar is not a Brahmin, is not a Kshatriya, is not a Vaishya, is perhaps a Shuddha or a scheduled tribe, SC or ST kind of person. But he is the one whom everybody wants on their head when they go to temple. That is called Shatari. I wanted to just show how Varna is not at all important, or even whatever they call as caste is of least importance for Sri Vaishnavas. There are only just two things. One is God, Paramatma. He is called Sheshi, the Lord. All others are Shesha, his servants, or his attributes. We will see that perhaps in the next class what it is, or even perhaps even if possible today. So that is the Sri Vaishnava's context in this. There is no Varna Veda or whatever Veda for that matter. Either you are a Jivatma or you are a Paramatma. If you are Paramatma, you are a different caste. If you are a Jivatma, you are a different caste. That's it. It doesn't matter how you are born, whether you are a human, whether you are an elephant, dog, nothing matters. Anybody can become a Sri Vaishnava. Okay. So I wanted to express this. Secondly, because I was talking about Pancharatra yesterday, Pancharatra Agama, there is one more statement in that. Can you elaborately? Okay, thank you. Thanks for the question. Yeah. So there was one more point which I would like to talk about, because it talks about this Varna also. Some people say, Manusmriti says, if a Shudra listens to Vedam, pour hot iron on his ears. Some people say so. And they even say the Shambhuka story of Ramayana. Rama punished Shambhuka for that reason, but it comes in Uttarakanda. not in the first 6 kandas. But some people say that is a part of Ramayana. That's up to them. I'm not saying no or yes, but let us see what does Manusmriti say something like that. There is not a single statement which is from Manusmriti which says pour hot iron on the person, a Shudra who is listening to Veda. That is not there at all. But what they are saying is, it is there in another place. It is called Gautama Sutra. And most probably it's an interpolation. Because in Pancharatra Agama, it specifically says, all the 4 varnas have to be involved in the temple worship. It says has to be. They have to be involved. So you cannot say he is SC, I will not involve him. That is wrong. According to Pancharatra, it is wrong. And not just that, Pancharatra Agama also specifies that during the position of the Perumal, of the god around the temple, Vedas have to be chanted loudly. So everybody can listen to that. So saying Shudra should not listen, all these things are fallacies. It's not supported by any of the Shrutis or Agamas. So, some people might argue that it is told in Gautama Sutra. No, that most probably perhaps is an interpolation because it is going against the Agama itself. So obviously it cannot be a valid statement. And Pancharatra Ishvara Samhita also allows not just Brahmins, even others to become priests. It even allows for that. The only criteria is he has to spend more amount of time, almost 6 to 10 years in studying various aspects. So saying others cannot worship, we cannot do puja, that might be true in Vaikasana Agama temples. In Vaikasana Agama temples, even Brahmin cannot become a priest. So why only talk about Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras? Even Brahmin cannot become. Whereas in Pancharatra Agama temples, Vishnu temples, anybody can become. Particularly there are 4 Samhitas. There are few temples which follow Ishvara Samhita, and of course those temples can be taken care by any person who undergoes the proper training for Pancharatra Agamas. I hope this settles the query on Varna. And I just want to mention one more point about caste. Caste is a Spanish and a Portuguese word. Coming from that word, it means casta, from casta word. Casta literally means hierarchy. Whereas Varna doesn't mean hierarchy. There is no hierarchy mentioned anywhere in the Shrutis or Agamas. And Pancharatra also saying anybody can do the temple worship as well. So I'll rest my case saying casta or a caste is not an Indian thought. It's an outside thought. Whereas Varna is our own thought, I do agree. But there is no hierarchy in it. And as multiple dignitaries pointed out yesterday, that Varna is basically dependent on karma and gunas. That is absolutely true. I'll rest my case with that. And there is a next question. I will take up the next question, which says Ramanuja and Bhashyakara. So in the first day, we saw that Vedas can be divided into 2 parts: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda. So Jnana Kanda has Upanishad in it. And we know there is Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, we have 4 important aspects. One is Bhagavad Gita. Second one is Vishnu Sahasranama. Apart from these 2, we have 2 more: Yaksha Prashna and Viduroniti. But the most famous one are Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Sahasranama. So these 2. So one is Upanishads. Second one is Bhagavad Gita. Third one, based on these Upanishadic statements, a sutra, an aphorism kind of thing was done by Vyasa. It is called Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra. So these 3, that is Upanishads, second one Bhagavad Gita, third one Brahma Sutra. If a person writes commentary, that is what is called as Bhashya, on these 3 aspects of the Shrutis, of the Vedas, Vedic corpus, then he is given a title Bhashyakara. But Ramanuja has written for Bhagavad Gita and he has written for Brahma Sutra. But people think he has not written on Upanishads. Adi Shankara has written, Madhvacharya has written. So those 2 can be called Bhashyakara. How can you call Ramanuja Bhashyakara? Ramanuja is still given the title as Bhashyakara because even though individually for all the 10 Upanishads or 18 Upanishads, he did not give commentary. That is true. But as a collective effort in his Vedanta Sangraha, Vedartha Sangraha, he has given overall gist of many of the Upanishads. He quotes profusely from Upanishads and he has given commentary on that. He has written 3 texts for these kind of Upanishads, but not individually. Collectively he has taken and he has written the commentary. Because he has dealt with Upanishads also, and already as I told you, he wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita as well as Brahma Sutra. He is given the title Bhashyakara, like other 2 Jagadacharyas. So even this Jagadacharya Ramanuja also is given the title Bhashyakara. I hope that clarifies. Third one, yesterday I did not do justice for Amulya's query. I'll just do a small justice on that Avatara part. Avatara means, we saw yesterday, the descending. Sani, like Avarohana, it is coming down. Like that's why it's called Avatara, coming down. So the God has come down. In that one, there are various degrees. So yesterday we saw Buddha, or the Gautama Buddha or the Siddhartha Buddha of 6th century BC, whom we know was born along with Mahavira near Nepal. He is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Buddha is mentioned, but that Buddha is a different Buddha. And even Buddhists don't agree on the fact that this Gautama Buddha is a Vishnu's avatara. And the mother, father, and the name of Siddhartha is not also mentioned there. It is a different name given in Bhagavatam. So obviously that cannot be the Nepal or Gautama Siddhartha Buddha. He is not that Buddha. That is one clarification. Second clarification I wanted to give was, and some people thought Balarama being Adishesha avatara. I totally agree, Amulya, that it is Balarama is Adishesha's avatara. But then why is he listed here? I'll give an example for this. We know about Kartivirya and Parashurama. Parashurama defeated Kartivirya. This Kartivirya has 1,000 arms and all those things. And I'm not going with the story, but he was the disciple of Dattatreya. He is also considered as Shakti Avesha Avatara, because even though Kartivirya was there, once he got the blessings from Dattatreya and he did a lot of austerities, Bhagavan came inside him for a specific task. So he was empowered by Bhagavan. So he is also considered as Avatara. But Bhagavan did not come completely in him. I mean, all the qualities of Bhagavan are not represented in Kartivirya. Only small parts of it. So some people call it Amshavatara. Similar to Vedavyasa also. We say Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya, Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave. So we are saying Vyasa himself is Vishnu. But Vyasa is considered like Jivatma only. But for a particular task, Bhagavan empowered him. So he is also considered as an avatar. I'll give another example of Parashurama. We know Parashurama defeated Kartivirya, was an Amshavatara. And Parashurama got defeated by Rama. But Rama is also Avatara. Parashurama is also Avatara. Then how is it? The reason is, Parashurama is considered as Anupravesha Avatara or Avesha Avatara. That means Parashurama was also a Jiva. After getting the Vaishnava mantra, 6-syllable mantra from Kashyapa Rishi, he performs tapas and later he gets or receives the presence of Bhagavan in him for a specific task of annihilating the so-called nonsense of creating Kshatriyas. That was a task. For that reason, Bhagavan did a Anupravesha in him. He was already living. After that, Bhagavan did Anupravesha. Even that is also considered as Avatara in Dashavatara. So that is why when he faced Rama, he got defeated, because Rama is considered as Paripurna Avatara, like full. From Vaikunta, the Bhagavan has just landed as it is, without any change, without reducing any of his qualities. He has come as it is. That is why that is considered as Paripurna Avatara. Once again, I need to record it. I don't know how to. I forgot now. It's not popping up. One moment. Mahodaya, I don't know how to record now, because It was earlier coming, now it's not coming.
I'm recording it all
right. Okay, thank you. So, similar to that, Balarama was Adishesha's avatara only. That is also correct. But while transferring the Garbha from Devaki to Rohini, Maya intervened, and Maya is the one who took from Devaki's Garbha to Rohini's Garbha. And Maya is under the control of Bhagavan. So because Maya was taken, that part of Bhagavan was used in this particular case. That is why Bhagavan, Balarama is considered as Bhagavan's avatara only. In the 10 avatars that we generally see, I'll just go back, 10 avatars, hardly 3 or 4 are considered as Paripurna avataras. So one is Varaha avatara, second one is Nrsimha avatara, third one is Rama avatara, fourth one is Krishna avatara. So that is why we don't see any other generally temples for, there are few temples, but majority of the temples are only for these 4 deities, because they are considered as Paripurna avatara. I hope I clarified, Amulya. Let me go ahead. So in day 1, we saw there is no other way there is no other way to know Bhagavan other than Shabda Pramana. That we saw in the first day. Pratyaksha and Anumana cannot be used. So we have to rely upon Shabda Pramana for knowing about Atma and Paramatma. The second day we saw this Bhagavan is full of qualities. We saw that. And we saw his 5 forms. Para, Vyuha, Vibhava. Vibhava is avatars. And next one we saw Antaryami, who is the indweller in all of us. And last one was Archa. That's what we saw. So now that we have established according to Agamas that Bhagavan has form, and according to other Shastra, Bhagavan has qualities, let us move ahead now. The question that comes up is, one more last point I missed. This is from Swami Vivekananda. Vivekananda says Ramanuja did a lot of social reforms and brought many people who were not included into the temple worship. He included them. I wanted to just show because of yesterday's query. Yeah, that's about it. Let me get into one of the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita today. In one particular shloka of Bhagavad Gita, it says, Antakalecha mamyeva smaram muktva kalevaram. I don't want to get into Sanskrit terms. So basically it says, the one who remembers me at the last moment, who thinks about me, contemplates on me and departs and dies, definitely he will reach me. There is no doubt about this. This is told in Bhagavad Gita. And we see a similar story associated with this last thought. Yes, any doubts? Sorry?
No, I'll mute everybody. I'll keep muting. Mahodaya, whenever I mute, you unmute yourself, okay?
Sure. Yeah. So, in this Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan is saying that whoever remembers me at the last moment, he will definitely come to me. We know a story for this. It's called Ajamila story. I'll just briefly go through this. Ajamila was a learned Vedic Brahmin. He was doing all the acts, karmas perfectly. Everything was going good. One day his father told, go and fetch some woods and fruits from the forest. He went there. While he was coming back, he saw a couple being together fondly. He becomes desirous of the same thing. He comes back and he stops doing all his actual works that he has to do, all the karmas. He stops doing them. He's always thinking about that lady. He goes to that lady. He says, you please be with me. She agrees. She's basically a prostitute. She agrees. He brings the prostitute to his home. He neglects his wife. He leaves her. He stays with the prostitute and he begets 10 children. He begets 10 children. Life goes on like this. He has stopped doing all this rights, actual stuff that he has to do. He has stopped his duties. He did not perform his duty as a father, as a husband for his wife. He totally was immersed with the prostitute for his almost more than half of his life. Now he is 88 years old. He is very fond of his last son. He's just 3-4 years old. Now he is in his deathbed. Ajamila is in his deathbed. He calls his son Narayana because he sees somebody coming near him. He becomes afraid. That's the reason he calls Narayana. He is thinking of his youngest son, what will happen to him. So he calls Narayana. And these people who have come, they are terrible looking. I can see the image there. They have sharp canine teeth. They are dark. They are powerful. They are muscular. They are looking cruel. So he was afraid. He calls Narayana, and immediately, within few moments, he sees other few people coming there. You can see them. They are wearing pitambaram, the yellow dress, yellow garments, and having shanka, chakra, gada, all those things. They have also come there. Now Ajamila is just watching. Yamadutas ask, why have you come? Who are you guys? We are Yamadutas. He is a sinful person. He has committed a lot of papa karmas. We are here to take him to Yamaloka and punish him. Why are you here? They say we are Vishnudutas. You should not take him because he has taken Narayana's namam in the end. So leave him. He says, no, how can we leave him? He is a papatma. He has to be punished. Vishnudutas say, no, nothing like that. He has taken Narayana namam and he has already atoned for his sins. So please leave him and go back. So they'll discuss among these things. There are many things discussing about what is dharma, what is adharma. I don't want to deal with all those things. Then Yamadutas go back. And Ajamila is seeing all these things. He wants to say something to these Vishnudutas and say maybe perhaps a thanks or something. But by the time he thinks of saying something, the Vishnudutas have disappeared. Okay. And eventually we know he reaches Vaikuntham. Okay. So this is generally told to say the importance of Nama or the Lord's name. Lord's name is so important that it will give you Vaikuntham. The Paramapadam itself. This is what is the general understanding. Okay. So that is so important. Nama Sankirtana is extremely important. And even Prahalad also says Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoho, Archanam, Padasevanam. He takes many things. In that one, Shravanam, listening about the Lord is extremely important. Kirtanam, singing about the Lord is extremely important. So let us do this for today. Small Balakandam thing. Okay, nice question, sir. I will get to it. But I would like to take that question also. But let us do a small recitation of this. Please, one of you perhaps can, if everybody knows, we can recite together. Otherwise, let us recite it. Maybe one of you can unmute yourself and say after me once. Shuddha Brahma Parat Pararam.
Shuddha Brahma Parat Pararam.
Kalatmaka Parameshwara Ram.
Kalatmaka Parameshwara Ram.
Sheshatalpa Sukha Nidrita Ram.
Sheshatalpa Sukha Nidrita Ram.
Brahmadyamara Prarthita Ram.
Brahmadyaya Amara Prarthita Ram.
Chanda Kirana Kula Mandana Ram.
Chanda Kirana Kula Mandana Ram.
Srimad Dasharatha Nandana Ram.
Srimad Dasharatha Nandana Ram.
Kausalya Sukhavardhana Ram.
Kausalya Sukhavardhana Ram.
Vishwamitra Priyadhana Ram.
Vishwamitra Priyadhana Ram.
Ghora Tataka Ghataka Ram.
Ghora Tataka Ghataka Ram.
मारीचादिनिपातकराम्
मारीचादिनिपातकराम्
कौशिकमकसंरक्षकराम्
कौशिकमकसंरक्षकराम्
श्रीमदहोल्याधारकराम्
श्रीमदहोल्यधराकराम्
गौतममुनिसम्पूजितराम्
गौतममुनिसम्पूजितराम्
सुरमुनिवरगणसंस्तुतराम्
सुरमुनिवरगणसंस्तुतराम्
नाविकधावितमृदुपदराम्
नाविकधावितमृदुपदराम्
मिथिलापुरजनमोहकराम्
मिथिलापुरजनमोहकराम्
विदेहमानसरञ्जकराम्
विदेहमानसरञ्जकराम्
त्र्यम्बककार्मुकभञ्जकराम्
त्र्यम्बककार्मुकभञ्जकराम्
सीतार्पितवरमालिकराम्
सीतार्पितवरमालिकराम्
कृतवैवाहिककौतुकराम्
कृतवैवाहिककौतुकराम्
भार्गवदर्पविनाशकराम्
भार्गवदर्पविनाशकराम्
श्रीमदहोद्यापालकराम्
श्रीमदः अयोध्यापालकराम्
राम राम जय राजा राम 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 जय सीताराम
राम राम जय राजा राम 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 जय सीताराम.
Excellent, thank you. The reason I made you guys think this was Nama is so important. Okay, but as one of the dignitary pointed out here, so that means I will do all the mistakes, I will do all the papas, I will kill people by becoming a terrorist, and in the nth moment I will say Lord's name. So will I get Vaikunta? Generally this is the perception we have from Ajamila's story. Is it correct? So Nama, if it's going to do away with all my papas, that means I'll keep doing mistakes and I'll keep saying the Nama Rama's name. Before going to the answering the question, I just want to tell what we just now recited. What we recited is called Nama Ramayana. Basically, we recited the whole Balakanda of Valmiki Ramayana with just these few lines. If possible, please, this is done by TTD in Balaji Pancharatra Mala. You can listen to that in YouTube and learn from this. Whole Ramayana can be learned very easily and it's very soothing as well. So that's a nice question. Let me tell you what exactly happened there, because this is the thinking everybody has. Like, I'll say Nama and I will become free of all these Papa. That is not the story exactly. If you see carefully in the slide, this slide is not exactly the same. The second slide there on the left hand side is not exactly the same place as the right hand side. Both are different, left and right. Had he reached Vaikunta, the photo should have shown the same deathbed. But that is not the case. What will happen is, in the actual story, when Ajamila wants to say something, Vishnudutas disappear. After this, he will contemplate. Just because I told Narayana only once, Vishnudutas came for my rescue and avoided me getting into the hell or Yamaloka. Had I done everything properly and followed all the austerities and every karma, every duty, then what would have happened? He repents for all the mistakes he has committed. Okay, he goes to Haridwar. That is why I showed that it's the Ganga there that you're seeing. He goes to Haridwar. If you see the background properly, you will know that is Haridwar's picture. From Haridwar, in Haridwar, he does a lot of tapas for many years. He does penance, okay, for all his mistakes. He does tapas, means tapana means heat. So because of the heat, and paschattapa means repentance. Because of the repentance and the penance, tapa, eventually Vishnudutas come again and is deathbed now. Literally, he dies now, and his Atma is taken to Vaikuntha. This is the actual thing. So we cannot say, I will say Nama and I'll keep committing the mistakes. Then what is the use of Nama? Why did you make us recite this whole Balakanda now? Simple reason is, Namas clear the mind. Namas take us to the highway, by which we can get into the Vaikuntha. For example, let us assume there is a flight from Bangalore airport to Vaikuntha. Okay, I am staying in Girinagar or some other area. So to reach airport, I have to use some routes. From by car, I have to go there. Of course, by car, I cannot reach Vaikuntha or Singapore. That is not possible. I have to fly. So I need aeroplane. But to reach aeroplane, I can use car or small roads. I can do that. That is what this Nama is. So Nama basically takes us to the airport. It cleanses our mind slowly, and we are tempted to go towards the airport where there is a highway or where there is a aeroplane. What is this aeroplane? According to Sri Vaishnavism, it is can be only two things. One is bhakti, another is surrender, prapatti. Devotion and surrender. Only these two. But generally it is told jnana and moksha in Shastras. In Upanishad, there is a thought of jnana and moksha. The way Bhagavad Ramanuja considered it is, that is true, jnana with bhakti or jnana of the bhakti and upasana is the one that is required, because there are a lot of meditation things told to do perform. Just jnana is not sufficient. You should do the upasana. Otherwise, why will the Upanishad talk about the upasana or talk about the devotion? So he says, jnana about bhakti and jnana blossoming into bhakti is what will take you into Vaikuntha or liberation. It is not just jnana. If I know this is remote, will it give me Vaikuntha? Of course not. I should get devotion towards the God. That's what it means. So for that, jnana will blossom itself into devotion. And that devotion is the aeroplane. That surrender is the aeroplane that will take us to the Vaikuntha. Nama by itself cannot take you to Vaikuntha, but it will cleanse your heart. It will cleanse our papa karma slowly. Okay, but without repentance, if I keep doing mistakes, nothing will happen. I will have to go to the papa yonis only. Okay. Okay. I hope that clarifies. I will go to for today's presentation. And any doubts regarding this, please come up by the time I share. It's a nice time. You can come up with doubts. It will be a more interaction.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Please go ahead.
Can only reciting or chanting God's name without pure intentions, like if people are just chanting the name without having the bhakti from the heart, is it still called bhakti?
Okay, it is not called bhakti. That is true. But you will develop bhakti slowly. As you chant more and more, you will contemplate on, for example, you will contemplate on the glories of the Lord. See what all he did as Krishna, what all he did as Rama. Oh my God, what brilliant qualities. If you just keep reciting without anything, just because I have to recite Ram, 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 and I'll keep killing others, I keep shooting at others, that is not a valid stuff. You should contemplate. If not in the beginning, at least slowly we should progress into that, and we should learn to contemplate on the glories of the Lord. Only then it is considered as bhakti.
Okay, sir. And is Gnana also the awareness towards God?
Yeah, one second. Nice question. Yeah, I think you can see the third. Today's presentation. Thank you. Yeah. So jnana about the God is what is required, and with the jnana only the blossoming of devotion can happen. See, for example, I think you guys watch cricket. Everybody likes Virat Kohli. Whoever watches cricket, they know about Virat Kohli. Or whoever watches football, they know about Messi, Ronaldo, Rivaldo. Or whoever watches movies, they know NTR. Or nowadays, they know Hrithik Roshan, Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, there are fans and fanatic people about them. Why? Because they see them, they know about them. They come to know NTR has given donation. Or Virat Kohli hits such a shot. Wow, Virat Kohli does so much of good for others. Pawan Kalyan does so much of good. MGR does so much of good. So as people know more about them, they become more and more fanatic. If that is the case with small people with small amount of good qualities, what kamiya, I mean, what shortage is there of good qualities in Bhagavan? He is filled with good qualities. I told you yesterday about Vatsalya. Even though I do Papa, he considers me as his son and he cleanses me. So with such beautiful qualities, how can you not love him? Love will actually flow through. The more you know about him, the more you will love him. The more we know about Virat Kohli, Pawan Kalyan, NTR, Messi, we love them. Okay, we saw how Rivaldo kicks free kicks. We say, wow, what a player. We admire them. What is stopping us from admiring Bhagavan? The only reason is Ajnana. We don't know about him. Once we know about his Kalyana Gunas, his good qualities, he will mesmerize us. Once we know about his beautiful form, yesterday I told about about the Kangal of Bhagavan that Tirpan Alvar is contemplating. If we are able to see that as such a form of the Lord, that's it, we are mesmerized. We will not turn and see anything else. That's what Tirpan Alvar says in the last verse. I have seen this form, I don't want to see anything else after this. So that is the power of his form and his qualities. The more we know, the more the devotion blossoms. I hope I clarified. Nice question,
Yes,
perhaps.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm talking about too much about Sri Vaishnavism.
Sheshagiri Mahodaya.
Yes,
I
Mahodaya.
think Redmi has raised a hand. You need to know what the question is. Can you speak out, please, Redmi?
Yeah,
Redmi,
I'm Rambabu here, Maladi garu.
Yes, Rambabu.
Amulya adigina question ki, I thought maybe doing the Nama is trying to understand him, and the bhakti is about emulating him. Finally, you want to become one like him. That is where we do all this bhakti like. If you are a true bhakta of Ram,
there is a different school of thought apart from what you said. I'm not denying it. There is a school of thought as you mentioned also. What I mentioned is from Vishishtadvaita school of thought. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Excellent. Of course, there is another school of thought which is not even with this, what you told and what I'm going to tell. There is a totally different school of thought also. But I don't want to get into that. That is not our topic anyway. But thank you. Thank you for the input, sir. I hope Amulya gets this one. Yeah. Thanks, Amulya, for your response. Okay. So I am talking about Sri Vaishnavism. Is Sri Vaishnavism same as Vishishtadvaita? Is it right? Not really. Sri Vaishnavism is a bit different than Vishishtadvaita. A bit different. I'll tell you why. But why did we even do all these things? I mean, if it's not even related to Vishishtadvaita, why did we even go through all these things? Sri Vaishnavism. Before answering that, I would like to tell you one thing. Ramanuja has written 9 works. All of them are Sanskrit. None of them are in Tamil. All the 9 works that you can see in the screen, Vedartha Sangraha, Vedanta Sara, Sri Bhashya, Vedanta Deepa, Gita Bhashya, all of them, till Nitya Grantha, all of them are in Sanskrit. And he does not even mention about a single Alvar in any of his work. Not even Nammalvar, whom he considers as best among all. He does not even mention about Nammalvar. He does not even mention his quote. He doesn't even quote a single Vashuram from Dravidopanishad, Divya Prabandham. He does not do that at all. Okay. If that is the case, then why did we talk about Sri Vaishnavism? Because the topic that was given was an introduction to Vishishtadvaita as expounded by Sri Ramanuja. Sri Ramanuja, even though he does not talk about these things in his works, in his Sanskrit works, he has not written any Tamil work at all. It is only Sanskrit work. The important aspect is he has gone through the Tamil works, but he cannot quote it there because Sanskrit people will not agree on that. Okay. I wanted to give an internal perspective how he got this knowledge, because Vedas are a bit malleable. You can Upanishads, if you see, the text can be a bit it's malleable language, so you can say this and that. How did he come to this particular conclusion? There are many kind of conclusions that can be come up. Then how did you only come up with this conclusion? That is because he has gone through the Divya Prabandha. But that cannot be quoted, so he doesn't quote. So all the information that I gave till now was an internal information. A Westerner who sees Vishishtadvaita philosophy written by the works of Ramanuja will never ever come to know that. Sorry? Sorry? Please?
I'll come at 9.
Sir, sir, can you mute them? Otherwise, I don't know whether, I think they will be asking questions. I will mute thank you. Yeah. So, Ramanuja, if somebody from outside reads Sri Bhashyam or any of his Sanskrit works, nobody will come to know from where he got this kind of a knowledge or this kind of clarity. So I wanted to give an internal perspective. It's an inside view. From outside, nobody will come to know. So that is the reason I wanted to give this side of Albars and Prabandhams and all those things. From now on, I will not deal with them because I just wanted to say what is behind Ramanuja, which is not generally seen from an outside view. That is the reason I told about all these things. Okay. From now on, it will be more of Sanskrit and what is written in his works. Purely Vishishtadvaita. Okay. So Vishishtadvaita is the philosophy of Sri Vaishnavas. That is the reason I told. And as expounded by Ramanuja, it was mentioned. So I told what was the background of Ramanuja, why he was able to say all these things easily. I hope I clarified because some of them had questioned this. Is Vishishtadvaita the same as Sri Vaishnava? It is not. Okay. And we are going to see perhaps even more further tomorrow. There is one term which is basically used many a times in Sanskrit Upanishads. We told, no, I told in the beginning also, in Shrutis can be differentiated as Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda. This Jnana Kanda has Upanishads. It will talk a lot of Brahma like that. Brahma doesn't mean in this case, we think generally Brahma is this Chaturmukha Brahma, the four-headed God. But this is not the Brahma of Upanishads. Upanishads do not speak of this Brahma. Okay? Upanishads actually speak of this Brahma. This is called Brahman or Brahma based on what translations you are reading. So it is not the Chaturmukha Brahma. Incidentally, I just wanted to mention one more thing. That's why I took this particular photo. Generally, we see this is the way Chaturmukha Brahma is shown. But Chaturmukha Brahma is not as old with all white daddy because he is only 52 years old. Okay, just 52. He has become 52 in this Kalpa. He is 52. Okay, he is not very old as 100 year or something. 52-year-old Brahma. But he is not the subject of Upanishads. Upanishads, when they speak of Brahman, they speak of this God, the universe, the omnipresent God, not the Chaturmukha Brahma, four-headed God. Okay. I hope this clarified. If there is any doubt, please ask now. Okay. I hope there is nothing. I'll continue.
Sir, there is a small doubt.
Yes, please.
This Brahman you are showing, this Brahman is Nirakari, no?
That's a nice question. Yesterday we saw Bhagavan. Bhagavan has a lot of qualities and he has a lot of form from Para, Vyuha, Vibhava, Archa, Antaryami and Archa, right? All these are mentioned in Agama. I'm not saying it's my wishful thinking. Agamas have mentioned this. Vedic corpus mentions this.
Maybe you have put the photo of Sri Krishna, no? That is why it is an Akara.
Okay. Nice question. I will answer them. It requires more time.
Yes,
but I will try to answer them. Okay. But it will be a gist. It will not be a complete answer. Nirakara Brahman is not the concept of Vishishtadvaita. I hope that is clear. Nirakara Brahman or Nirguna Brahman is not the concept of Vishishtadvaita.
Fine.
Saguna
Okay,
Brahman, Sakari Brahman with full of akaras is the concept of Vishishtadvaita. And the topic is Vishishtadvaita. So I'm talking about that one only. Okay. I know this kind of questions should come. I really appreciate that. Thank you. But the topic given is Vishishtadvaita, so I'm talking about that. If at all I talk about some other school of thought, perhaps I will bring them in the, if at all there is another session, I will bring them up. So in Vishishtadvaita, Brahman is Sagunan. Brahman is with akaras. But does it mean he's only in this akara of Krishna? He is not Krishna, basically. Yeah, he has Nevilgiri. Yeah, you can take him as Krishna. But is it only in the form of Krishna? No. He is Narsimha also. He is Aniruddha also. He is Pradyumna also. He is Sankarshana also. He is Vasudeva also. Yesterday we saw so many forms, no? Upavyuha forms. Keshava, Narayana, Govinda, Madhava, Madhusudana, Vamana, Trivikrama. All these are him only. Okay. So it is not just one form. The way Vishishtadvaityans or Sri Vaishnavas think of Bhagavan or Brahman is he has forms, but not only one form. He has innumerable forms. And formlessness, Nirakaratvam, is also one of the forms. I mean, one of them. For example, let me take sets. We know sets in mathematics. We say even number set, odd number set, real number set, right? There are sets. So there is one more set called null set. That means it has nothing in it. Null set has nothing in it. Universal set has everything in it. So the way Vishishtadvaityans think, he is everything, all the sets, not just universal set. Universal set has everything, but even numbers is a different set. Odd number is a different set. Complex number is a different set. And null set is a different set. So according to Vishishtadvaita, all these sets are Brahman only. So even the null set, that is Nirakaratvam, is also one of the sets. I hope I clarified. I'm not saying Bhagavan cannot be Nirakara. I'm not saying that. He can be Nirakara also if he wants to. Because if I say he cannot be Nirakara, that means he will lose his omnipotency. Omnipotency means all powerful. If I am saying all powerful, he should be powerful enough to take any form he wants, or without form. He can be anywhere he wants. Okay? That is the concept here.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Nirakaram is also one of the forms for him. Means
in the background of Vishishtha, it's okay, sir. It's fine. It is good.
Yeah.
I understood. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Nice question, perhaps. So this is the way conception of Vishishtadvaityans, that he is Sagunan and he is many rupas, not just one or two. We saw them yesterday. So many forms were there. Okay. But that is not the limit. There are even many more forms, including the formlessness. Okay. Okay. I understood only 15 minutes. I'll just introduce some of the things. Perhaps if not concluding, I'll take it in the next class also. In 5 minutes, I'll try to complete this. There are Mahavakyas in the Upanishads. They are called Abheda Shrutis. Some of the Abheda Shrutis are considered as Mahavakyas by some people. So these Mahavakyas are something like Tat Tvam Asi, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. Like this, there are many verses actually. But principally, Mahavakyas are 4 or 5. That is what is considered. Basically, what it says is, in general, what it seems to say is, I am the God. The soul is the same as the God. That's what it seems to tell. This is called Abheda Shruti. Abheda basically means, Bheda means difference. There is a difference between soul and Brahman. Or there is a difference between this remote and this book. Okay, if I say these two are different, it is Bheda. If I say both these are same, okay, remote and the book are same, that is Abheda. So if I say soul and Brahman is same, exactly same, that makes it Abheda Shruti. There are such statements in Upanishads, which are Vedic part. Okay. And there are some more statements like these. For example, Bhokta, Bhogyam, Preritaram Chamatva, Sarvam Proktam Trividam Brahmayetat. This is one of these. I don't want to get into all of them. There are many such statements in Upanishads. Actually, there are 80% of them are like this. 10% of them are like Abheda Shrutis. So it is saying there is a Bhokta. We saw in the first class, Triputi. What is Bhokta? The person who is enjoying, the subject. Bhogyam means the object that is being consumed or enjoyed. Preritaram means the director who directs it to happen. Okay. And it says Trividam Brahma Etat. There are 3 types here. It's clearly saying difference now. It says there is a person who enjoys, there is an object which is being enjoyed, and there is a director who directs this. It's clearly saying there are 3. So these kind of Shrutis or Vedavakyas are called Bheda Shrutis, which talk about a difference. Now the question should pop up in our head, is Veda a mad fellow? Because in one place it is saying, it is same, the soul and super soul, or the Jivatma. Jivatma is my soul. Paramatma is the Bhagavan. It is exactly the same. There is no difference. In another few instances, it is saying these two are completely different. And it is bringing one more concept. There is one more thing which is being enjoyed, bhogya, object. So what is this? Is a Veda a mad fellow which doesn't understand what it keeps changing its own terms? Let us see how this can be properly taken up. There are one more part which constitutes another 10% of the part. They are called Ghataka Shrutis. So basically Ghataka Shruti and Abheda Shrutis are very less. These sentences are very less. Veda Shruti Vakyas are very more. They are too much. I'll just read one of them. Yasya Atmani Tishtan Atmano Antaroyam Atmana Veda Yasya Atma Shariram. Okay, I don't want to get into Sanskrit verses. Basically, it's saying the Brahman is in the Jivatma, has entered inside it. He is the Antaryami, indweller. So there is a difference, it accepts, but it says it can be considered as equal also. Let us take an example now. This is just an example. Let us take Rohit. I will call Rohit. Hey Rohit. I'll call him. He was walking. Rohit was walking. I called him. Hey Rohit, can you come here? Rohit turned towards me. He was going here. His back was towards me. As soon as I called, he turned. He saw me and he asked me, did you call my body or did you call my Atma? I thought he is a mad fellow. What he is saying, he has become a Vedanti. That is why he is talking like this. But that is the right question. Actually, it's a perfect question. So let us think I called his body. Okay, let's assume a person is dead. His name is X. Okay, X person is dead now. I go to his body and I call him X. X, please get up. X, please get up. Turn towards me. Does the X get up? Absolutely not. Okay, he will not even hear me because the Atma is left. So obviously body I cannot call as Rohit. So can I call the Atma as X or Rohit? If I say the X body, the person who was dead, the X person has dead, the X has gone out, the Atma has gone out. Okay, I call X. Will the Atma turn? Will the Atma have Indriyas first of all to listen and to react for that matter? No. Atma requires body to react and to get the sense first of all. To know that somebody is calling, it requires Jnanendriya, senses through the body. So it requires the body. It requires subtle body and gross body. So basically, I am not calling the Atma also. I am not calling the body also. But still Rohit turns when I call Rohit. What is happening? Basically, I am calling the composite. I am calling the body which has the Atma. The composite is Rohit. Okay. Am I clear in this? The composite of Atma, gross body and Atma is what we generally term and what people turn around and generally react with us. Okay. So the gross body is called Sharira. In Telugu also it is Shariram only. Sharira. Okay. Or some people call Deha. Deha, Sharira, gross body. Okay. This is gross body. What you're seeing. Okay. The Atma is the indweller. It is inside the Sharira. Correct? It is called Shariri. What is it called? It is called Shariri. Gross body is called Sharira. The person inside, the Atma inside is called Shariri. The Ghataka Shruti, what it is trying to say is, okay, it is says, even including the Veda Shruti, this is the Vishuddhadvaita's basic philosophy. It says there are three tattvas. There are three things. One is object, Achit. Achit means like this. Okay. What you can see by sense. Okay. Like this gross body, you can see this, right? Or the subtle body, you can perhaps sense it. So all these are Achit. And there is something called Chit, the sentient being, the Jivatma. Okay, the Atma. And there is one more thing called Ishvara, or the Lord, God. Okay. So there is Achit, the objects, insentient beings. The Chit, which is basically the sentient beings, Jivatmas. And then Ishvara. So as we saw in the Veda Shruti, there are three things. The three things are valid. But it links. Ghataka means basically a bridge. It bridges both Abheda Shruti and Veda Shruti. It connects them now. Let us see how it connects. It says, basically the Parabrahman has Chit and Achit as his body. He is the indweller. He is the Shariri. Okay. And the Chit and Achit are basically his body, his prakara. It's exactly termed as prakaras. But for the time being, we can assume it as his quality or his attribute. So this Brahman has attributes as Chit and Achit. So as a unit, if you see the whole thing, Brahman is one only. That's why it's called Advaita. But he has qualities. That is why it is called Vishishta Advaita. The qualities are basically here, Chit and Achit only are qualities, or modes, or prakaras, however you want to term. Okay? Those are, for the time being, you can assume it as parts. I should not say that. For the time being, you can assume these are small parts in the Parabrahman's body. It is his own part. For example, this finger. This finger is my own body now. Nobody says this finger is separate. But can you see the finger? You can easily represent saying the finger. If you say, raise your finger, I can raise like this. Okay? This is called Swagata Bheda. I don't want to get into technicalities of the terms. So basically, it is a single thing in which you can differentiate. There is eyes, there is ear, you can easily differentiate. That is the basic philosophy of Vishishta. I'll rest my case now. I want the questions and some more things, interaction. I'll give one last example. If you Google pasta, no, pasta will show something like this. Pasta will have Mariano sauce, Italian seasoning, everything combined. Everything combined is called pasta, correct? Italian pasta. But it has Mariano sauce. You can see it, Mariano sauce. If you Google it, I have put in the slideshow. There is something called Italian seasoning, but it's separate. You can assume these as Chit and Achit. Sentient beings, insentient beings, which are with the pasta. You can, once the pasta is there, you cannot separate the sauce and the Mariana sauce and Italian seasoning. You cannot separate it. It is always together in the pasta. Okay? I hope this clarifies. This is what I wanted to say. Please go ahead with questions. I know only a few minutes are left, but please let us take the questions now.
Seshgiri Mahodaya, can you please stop the screen share and show yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's an important point to make today, which is that our effort is to really try and appreciate the different schools of thought. And this webinar is about Visishta Advaita and understanding it, because a lot of us perhaps do not have an understanding of it. And surely there will be differences between the different schools of thought, otherwise there won't be different schools of thought. So our effort can be to really understand what Visishta Advaita is all about. And at a later time, we can always look at Dvaita as well, isn't it? And similarly, Advaita as well. Not by you. I'm just saying, if at all there are webinars. Yeah, I'm not troubling you. So,
no. It's okay,
in an effort to understand Sanatana Dharma, we need to really, first of all, figure out that there is the freedom to choose. There is freedom to kind of think and explore, and that's the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. And the whole idea of bringing Visishta Advaita for discussion is for an appreciation of the different schools of thought. There are differences, but at the same time, there are so many similarities as well.
Yeah, I'll perhaps take the conclusion part as similarities.
Yes,
what are the similarities?
So on that note, perhaps we'll invite some questions. Anybody? I think Niharika had one question again about the Dashavataras, I think. Niharika, please, can you ask the question yourself?
Niharika ji, please. I know I have been less interactive, but I will make sure it will be more and more interactive.
Okay, maybe I'll just read it. If God is in one form, okay, yeah. Niharika ji, are you there? Okay, if God is in one form like Brahman, then why did he come in different forms to earth like Dashavataras?
Okay, as Bhagavad Gita already points out, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttana madharmasya tadatmanam sujamyam. And then he says one more shloka, which is even more important actually. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkratam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Basically, gist is this much. Whenever there is dharma's glani or declination, decrease in the dharma, okay, and increase in the adharma, he will come down to subdue the adharma and increase the dharma. That is one reason. Second, he says, there are people who wants to see him. There are pavitra people, rishis. who have been meditating for a long time. Okay, for some of them, he will come in their mind itself. Like when they tune the radio, they will receive the knowledge, right? Like that, they will see that. But for others, that is not possible. But they have been devoted to him for a long time. Like for example, Vidura, he has been a devoted person. Okay, or even Akrura. So for them, he comes down for them as it is and shows himself. And for that matter, Arjuna, not just Arjuna, many people saw Vishwarupa, including Duryodhana, but Duryodhana did not understand it. That's it. And for that, there is one more shloka from Bhagavad Gita itself, which says, Andrashim tam ashritam. I forgot the shloka. I'm unable to recite the whole shloka. Avajananti ma moodaha andrashim tam ashritam. Basically, it says, even though I take this human form, and even if I show the divinity, people still think I'm a normal human. And they don't think they should follow my words. This is the word from Bhagavad Gita itself. Avajananti ma moodaha. He told, do peace treaty to Duryodhana. Duryodhana did not agree. He showed the Vishwarupam to him. He thought it's just Maya. And he thought he will not believe in all these things. He will fight. And Mahabharata war happened. So it is for people like Vidura, Arjuna, for these people, for rishis, for those who are sadhus, for those people who want to see him. For example, in the Krishna Avatara beginning, when he comes to the Gopikas, the Vrindavana Vasis, all those people wanted to be with Krishna. That is the reason he comes down and stays with them. So Paritranaya Sadhunam, for sadhus' sake he comes down. For dharma's glani, when it happens to uproot, remove the adharma, he comes down. For increasing the dharma, he comes down. That is the answer from Bhagavad Gita. Thank you. If it's not clarified, please post your question again. Pose your question.
Okay, any more questions?
I need clarification on one concept if I'm thinking it in the right way or not. By saying Aham Brahmasmi, that means we are the Brahman and the body is Chit and the Shariri is the Achat. Is it right?
Okay, I'll give an example now. Amulya, you have to be unmuted throughout. Okay.
Okay.
If your mother says, hey Amulya, you're sick. Okay. You look sick. Okay. Because you are dull. Okay. You are dull. You're feeling dull. So your mother says, are you sick? Is she referring to your physical health or mental health now? Both are your own. Correct? Body is yours. The subtle body, mind is also yours. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Atma is you. Forget about that. But yours. For example, if I say my finger, I am different. This is mine. This finger is mine. Like that, the body is mine. That's why we say my body. We don't say I body. I is the Atma. I is saying this body is mine. So we say my body, my finger, my mind. Okay. So you are dull. So dullness is not in the physicality. You are feeling dull because you got lesser marks. So your mind is basically depressed. So there is subtle part in it, right? Like that, Brahman has these two subtle parts in it. Okay. Like Chit and Achit, both are subtle parts. I'll give one more example. It's a beautiful example actually. Let us take a peacock. Okay. A peacock is there and suddenly rain starts coming. And you know what happens for the peacock when rain comes? It dances by flocking its feathers. It will open its feathers and it opens up and we can see. Okay. The rain has stopped now. The feathers have gone back. No more flocking of feathers. This is what is called as Srishti basically. The Brahman, when he wants to have the world, he will just open like feather, like the peacock. And when the pralayam happens, he will just consume it back, take it back, like the peacock. All the time, whether you are seeing the peacock like this or like this, the feathers, the whole peacock is always one, right? It is always one. It is including the feathers, the colors of the feathers, the neck, the small springs on it, everything is part of peacock only. Throughout, in the rain and after the rain, before the rain, all the time it was one unit only. Correct? Yeah. So like that, this Chit and Achit are parts of him all the time. Whether Srishti is there, Pralayam has done, it doesn't matter. Exactly the same, like peacock. Sometimes it manifests like in the Srishti, sometimes it doesn't. But throughout, as peacock has its feathers and other body parts, colors and feathers and everything, like that, Chit and Achit are parts of Parabrahman.
Okay.
Is it clear now?
Yes, so it's always
Go ahead.
Brahman, and Brahman's parts are like the parts in Brahman are Chit
Yeah,
and Achit.
Chit and Achit. Yeah, the reason I don't want to say actually part, but for the time being, for this introduction class, it should be considered as part because there is a Vedic statement which goes against saying parts. But it's okay. It's actually called prakaras. But for the time being, let us consider. So I want to give one more example. Do you have time, sir, or shall I take it up tomorrow?
I think we'll go for any other question. Yeah. Anybody else has any question?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. If we don't have any questions, any more questions, I know it's about 5 minutes past 8. We'll do a quick feedback. So are you all ready?
Okay,
Basically, just like yesterday, we will be, can you please log on to menti.com? Log on in the sense you just type in menti.com. That's it. Okay. And the code for today is 533104. Seshagiri Mahaday, can you just type in the code?
I'm typing. Yeah, 5331
3104.
04. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I have sent it now.
Yeah.
In the meantime, can I talk, sir? When
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll just say that. Please just type in menti.com. Once it opens, there will be a box, and in the box you just enter the code 533104. And after that, you will see a question. What are the key takeaways from today's session? And you just need to fill in. Yeah. Yes. Over to you.
I just want to, thank you. I'll summarize. Basically, in Vishishtadvaita, I'm talking Vishishtadvaita, no more Sri Vaishnavism. This is purely Vishishtadvaita. I have stopped Sri Vaishnavism because I just wanted to say how Ramanuja got those thoughts before. That is the reason I told about all Alvars and Tamil Marais and everything. But today what we discussed is purely Vishishtadvaita. So in Vishishtadvaita, there's one thing I want to show. Can you see this white cloth? This is my panche, veshti, or I don't know what they call in English for panche. Okay. Tamil it's veshti, in Kannada it's panche. I don't know what is termed for this in English. It's a white cloth. Okay. The white cloth here, what you are seeing, has whiteness in it, correct? Can we separate the whiteness from this white cloth? It is not possible. Like that, the Chit and Achit are part of Brahman, which cannot be separated. It's called Visheshanam. It's not Upalakshanam. We will see the difference of Upalakshanam and Visheshanam tomorrow. So that is why it's called Vishishtadvaita. So basically, we cannot separate. Pratak means separating. Apratak means cannot separated. Cannot be separated. This whiteness of this white cloth cannot be separated from the cloth. Like that, Chit and Achit cannot be separated. The sentient and insentient beings are never ever separated from the Brahman. They are always together. That is the reason it's called Advaita. Okay, and because of the Visheshanam, the whiteness, I'm talking about whiteness. Cloth is different, whiteness is different. Of course, we know that. Cloth is not same as whiteness. So there is a difference. Okay, but whiteness always has to reside in the cloth only. Whiteness cannot just remain in the air, I mean in space. It has to reside somewhere in something. Like that, Chit and Achit always remain in Parabrahman. That is the concept.
Okay. Just 1 minute, please. There are 17 participants and 7 have entered so far. Others, if you are struggling, can you just let us know, please? Just, do you need any help? You just need to type in menti.com. Okay, all right. Anybody else need any help? Menti.com and 533104. So we have some entries so far. They've learned about Gataka Shruti, Nama Sankirtanam, and Chit and Achit, Brahman, Saguna Brahman, Vishishtadvaita, and the Sri Vaishnava, the slight difference in them. Universal set, Gataka Shruti. Okay, all right. And yeah. Okay, I'll just need to go to the next question then, if it is okay. All right. So in the meantime, hopefully others can log in as well. All right, let me just click the next slide. Yeah. So now you can enter in for this question. What are the areas of improvement you would suggest for today, from today's or perhaps even the last 2 days? Because this will help us in planning our future next 2 days as well as any future sessions as well. What would be the areas of improvement that you would suggest? Thank you. Please go ahead and enter.
Yeah. In the meantime, others can post questions if you want to by the time you finish this.
One question. Actually, as you were saying, that when Lord Krishna has given the avatar in the Bhagavad Gita, only if you could see, only the rishis or the munis could see, or the good people could see. That means the other people who could not see at all.
You mean the Vishwarupam in the Bhagavad Gita or the Vishwarupam in the Udyoga Parva of
No,
Shanti?
in the battlefield, for example, as only Arjuna and some could see the Vishwarupa.
Except Sanjaya, Arjuna, nobody saw because
Okay, so just 1 minute, please. Are people able to see the question and make entries? Because I don't see any yet.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Please go and please make entries. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. The nice question. So, in particularly in the Bhagavad Gita, we are very sure that except Arjuna, in the battlefield, nobody saw that. Right. Only Sanjaya, who was narrating it to Dhritarashtra, because he had the boon from Vedavyasa, he was able to see from the palace itself. He was not in the battlefield at that point of time. So, Arjuna, how we know that he saw is because he says, Arjuna, you cannot see with this normal naked eyes. Divyam dadami te chakshu. I will give you divine eyes. Okay. With these divine eyes, you can see me. That is what Krishna says. Because others did not possess.
Duryodhana was there, but he could not see.
Yes, not in this particular point. In the Udyoga Parva, he saw already. Okay, not in Bhagavad Gita. That's why I wanted to be very clear.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. In Bhagavad Gita, nobody saw because he only gave the divine pair of eyes for the universal form to be seen.
I had a doubt the same thing. In Bhagavad Gita, I heard only two could see. And how could Duryodhana see here? I was thinking.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And one more thing.
It's a good question. It's a good question. I think I'm glad that we are receiving more questions, and that's the way it should be. We should interact for a better learning. Yes.
Somebody is saying need to go faster. Okay.
Well, I think this can't be any faster. I would disagree with that because any faster would be difficult for new learners, and perhaps this may have come from somebody who is very learned already. And kindly understand that this has to go slow so that people who are new to the concept of Visishtadvaita will have enough time to appreciate the true essence of it. Otherwise, the problem would be that they will go confused and that won't help the cause of Visishtadvaita. Kindly do understand that. Thank you very much.
Sir, next question is, can you list the purpose of this webinar? Why are we conducting this webinar? Are you going to take it? Shall I take it, sir? How is it?
Well, perhaps we can understand who's asked this question, and maybe that can explain, because the title is very clear. It's Introduction to Visishtadvaita. Introduction basically is a very basic kind of overview of Visishtadvaita, and the purpose is basically for people to appreciate Visishtadvaita so that if they are interested, they can explore further.
Yeah, I don't know who was the questioner. Basically, I just want to highlight there are a few schools of thought which are widely known. Other schools of thought like Dvaita and Visishtadvaita are less known. So this effort perhaps from Srinivas sir, from Soham, is to make sure all the schools get people get to know there are different schools of thoughts. Not only one school of thought. You can choose whatever you want, but at least you should know what is the buffet. You should know there is gobi. You should know there is puri. You should know there is chitrana. You should know there is lemon rice. Curd rice, then you can choose what you want. So basically, I think perhaps this is for just to know what are the buffet that is available in Sanatana Dharma. Once you know the buffet, then you can choose what you like and eat what you like.
Okay, good. We have a lot of feedback, which is very nice. Time should be more. I think if you're all agreed, we can extend the session to 1.5 hours for the next 2 days, because we only have 2 days left. And if that seems to be okay, I think we can do that. But we need to really close by 8:30, because there may be people who have other things to do as well. Okay. Today's topics not shared. Okay. Maybe that is in reference to the list of topics you have given earlier on. Is that something you can comment on, Seshagiri Mahadaya?
Like in the sense, I need to just jot down the what was taught today, something like that, or sharing the PPT, because I don't know how to share the PPT with all the people. I don't have their email IDs or anything. Neither I don't think even you have. How to share PPTs, I don't know.
Well,
And
what I'm
does
doing
mean
is
also,
I'm actually putting it on YouTube, and
Okay.
people can just and I'm sharing the YouTube link. Yesterday's I haven't uploaded on the YouTube yet. I will do it,
Okay.
and today's session as well I will upload on YouTube and share with all the participants.
Perhaps the questionnaire can say what he means by today's topic not shared. I mean, I don't get what is the meaning of that. I'm sorry. Please, can you throw some more light on it?
Okay. Perhaps what we can do is, Seshagiri Mahadaya, you can list, maybe, I don't know, maybe in the beginning of the day, you can point out what are the topics you're going to cover. Like, for instance, yesterday you made it clear that it's going to be about Paramatma. So maybe that's something we can do. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So well explained. Excellent. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. And one last thing, perhaps you can rate today's session on a scale of 1 to 10. If you feel that the session was not at all good, then that's at the left hand side. And if you actually feel that it was very good, it's on the score is on the right hand side. So it's actually from 1 to 5. The scoring is 1 to 5. Maybe perhaps tomorrow I'll change it to 1 to 10.
Yeah. I just want to tell one more thing. In Vishnu Sahasranama, Palashruti, we see for those people who want dharma, they will get dharma. Those people who want kama, they will get kama. Those people, dharma, artha, those people who want artha, they will get artha. But it doesn't say those people who want moksha will get moksha. It doesn't say so. So just by nama, you will not get moksha. You will get dharma, you will get artha, you will get kama, and you will get prajarti chat, the praja people, those who want praja or fame issues, they will get praja, not moksha. It will guide you towards the moksha. That is another just a proof for saying nama will not be good enough to take you to moksha. But it is definitely one of the important steps, as Prahalad says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. It's very important. It will start us the journey. From there we can start. Just by saying the Lord's name, you will start towards making a journey towards Him. Or just by listening towards His glories, we will take step towards reaching Him. Is that okay? Mahodaya? Shall we wind up?
I think that's perfectly fine. Thank you so much for today's participation. Maybe tomorrow, I think perhaps Mahodaya, you can do, if you need to do, you can extend until 8:15 and definitely need to close by 8:30. If I don't know whether people are actually agreed on it, but because of the feedback, we can certainly try that tomorrow. Okay. All right.
And tomorrow there will be a guest speakers, Mahodaya. There is one specific speaker that I have asked them to join for Artha Panchakam explanation and a story. She will narrate it. And she will take questions also. It will be good. She is knowledgeable lady. She is into Samskrita Bharati as well.
Very nice. Okay. Nice to know that. So tomorrow we'll have a guest as well. So that's a bonus for us. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Shubharatri. See you tomorrow at 7 o'clock.
Jai Shri.
Jai Shri Ram.